Note: this is general information only. Always seek advice before setting up an SMSF. Setting up a self-managed super fund in 2023 has never been easier due to advances in technology and competition between service providers. There is a choice of established accountants, online SMSF administrators and financial advisors to choose from. If you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about, hang tight because we're about to dive into the nitty-gritty of self-managed super funds and why they could be a real game changer for your future. In a nutshell, a self-managed super fund, SMSF, is a private superannuation fund that you manage yourself. It's similar to a retail or industry super fund, but instead of being managed by the professionals, the power is in your hands. With great power comes great responsibility, and an SMSF is no exception. As with anything, there are pros and cons to setting up an SMSF. With greater control and choice over your investments, you get to decide where your money goes. SMSFs receive tax deductions for services, which are not passed on by retail and industry funds. And you can tailor your fund to suit your estate planning and personal circumstances. Managing an SMSF is not a walk in the park. It requires a little time and effort and a lot of decision-making and responsibility. The potential for financial risks and loss is a reality, especially if you're inexperienced. Remember, SMSFs are not afforded the safeguards that retail and industry funds are for fraudulent investments and scams. You must be comfortable making investment decisions and providing reporting documents at tax time. Before you jump the gun, understand that setting up an SMSF is not a decision to be taken lightly. Remember, you're dealing with your hard-earned retirement savings here. As the trustee, you're legally responsible for all the decisions made. So, buckle up and get ready to start your journey to financial freedom. First things first, you'll need to set up your super fund. Online providers like My SMSF make the process easier and streamlined with a single online form. You can decide on whether to use an individual trustees or a corporate trustee, which is where a company acts as the trustee for your fund. Create a trust deed, noting that all fund members must be directors of the fund trustee company and sign a trustee declaration. It might sound like a lot, but don't worry, My SMSF has you covered. Once your fund trustee is set up and your deed is established, we register the fund with an ABN and tax file number with the Australian Taxation Office. It's worth noting that most providers you engage will complete all of the SMSF setup steps for you. Now that you've got your fund set up, it's time to decide where you want your money to go. Will you invest in shares, Bitcoin, property, or something else? The choice is yours. The investment strategy document details what your fund is investing in, and it should be reviewed and updated each year, and especially so if there are investment changes in your SMSF. The final step is to set up a bank account and roll over your super. It's worth noting that My SMSF provides a bank account setup service as part of the setup fee. Remember to complete your super rollovers via MyGov or by giving notice to your industry or retail super fund. Once you log into MyGov, add the ATO and then add the SMSF by using the registered ABN number. Once you have done this, go to the menu which shows you your available retail funds, to commence the rollover of super to your SMSF. Alternatively, you can contact the current retail, industry fund and get them to roll over your super. Once a SMSF has an ABN and an ESA address, including its bank account details reported to the ATO, and your super is rolled over, your fund is complying and ready to start investing. It is true to say that managing your own super fund can save you money, as most SMSF administrators like My SMSF charge a fixed fee, compared with a percentage fee charged by retail and industry super funds. There are, however, costs to be aware of. Expect a once-off, upfront cost for setting up your SMSF. In our case, the setup fee is only $880, a small price to pay for future financial freedom. The cost for tax and audit work and support with My SMSF can reach up to $1,100 each year, which is quite affordable considering the peace of mind and the service you get. Let's take a quick look at the performance of retail and industry super fund over the last financial year. The average return in an industry or retail super fund, as reported by Super Rating, was 8.23%, which compared the top 10 performing super funds in the balanced option to the 30th of June 2023. Sources: Super Ratings, ATO. Is an SMSF right for me? That's a tricky one, and it really depends on your individual circumstances. If you're comfortable making financial decisions and want to invest in direct property, gold and Bitcoin, then an SMSF is the only way. Again, the trade-off is much higher responsibility and risks of investment losses and accountability to the regulator, the ATO. If greater choice of investments, lower tax, deductible fees and better family estate planning are important to you and you are prepared to make the time commitment, then an SMSF could be a great fit. It's always best to seek professional advice or do some detailed research before setting up an SMSF. Are there any limits on what you can invest in with an SMSF or a required starting balance? While you have a lot of flexibility with your SMSF, there are still some rules to follow. The ATO has no restrictions on what you could invest in, but the super laws set important guidelines, with the super fund deed providing a more detailed and simpler explanation, along with allowed investments, tax implications, which can be complex, which is why most people seek financial advice before setting up an SMSF. The sobering fact is, if you make poor investment choices, your fund will lose all your hard-earned super savings, putting you and your family in a poor position for retirement. Lastly, there is no prescribed starting balance for a SMSF. However, most My SMSF clients set up funds with at least $100,000 between 1 to 6 members, to maximize the fund's allocation of assets and to manage the fund's operating costs. Setting up a self-managed super fund can truly be a great way to attain financial independence. But remember, it's not a decision to be taken lightly, and SMSFs are not suited to everyone. With the right knowledge, support, and dedication, an SMSF can be a great retirement structure for many Australians.